So I've hit record, so we are good to get going with, and John, your name on the screen says Layla, but that is your wife, who is dealing with the baby right now. So I'd love to get started. I want to know all about your backstory. I know you guys have hit 450K after your first year, which is just mind blowing to me. And I'm so excited to learn more about how you did that. You beat us, our revenue anyway. So I'm excited to have you beat us again this year and then be teaching us what you've learned. So this is going to be really cool. So thank you for being here.
I appreciate you having.
Yeah, for sure. So first things then is, where did you guys get your start? You were in Austin, Texas. You have your cleaning company, but where were you a couple of years ago before you started this?
So a couple of years ago, we were in Santa Monica, California. That's where we met. We were in a completely different industry. I'm a trained chef by trade, and my wife is in the film industry, which means she's also a server. And that's how we met,
Yeah.
working together. And then her family lives here in Austin, and so when we got pregnant, and we knew that we were going to be moving out here, and that's how we made our trek out to Austin. Mid-COVID, driving in with the U-Haul across the states, bring your own bed sheets and staying in hotel rooms, and pre-vaccine. It was that whole it was a fun time.
Yeah. So you guys, of course. So that makes so much sense because your restaurant would have been shut down. You would have had to look at your life and go, what the heck am I doing? Do I want to keep doing this? You and everyone else who worked in the restaurant industry during COVID, right?
Yeah.
So is that what led you to go, okay, let's start a cleaning company?
Actually, no. When we moved out here, I started working I stayed in the restaurant industry.
Yeah.
And we had our first child, our son, Jamie. He's 3 now. And he, in the restaurant industry, the hours are brutal. It's nights, weekends, holidays. You're working when everyone else is off. And I got a week paternity leave when my son was born. And then after that, I literally missed his first year of life. And my wife and I, we've been together 12 years now. We both were we always knew that wasn't the life we wanted. And we've dabbled. I've opened businesses in the past that, were okay and et cetera, but we just knew that wasn't it. And, luckily I got fired. And, which thing was one of the best things that ever happened to me. And so, we were just like, let's take some time, let's do some research, let's figure it out. And so we took 6 months and, stumbled upon home cleaning, and we'll get into that. But that's why we're here. Is I got fired from the corporate world.
So why cleaning?
Randomly. So we wanted to figure out, we kind of wanted to figure out what our life we wanted it to be like 5 years from now, and then work our way back. So it's like, what industry can we be in that provides enough income and enough passive-ish enough income to where we can travel, we can be anywhere around the world, and we can still run it remotely. So we looked into a lot of different home service businesses. We looked into buying a pool cleaning business. We looked into buying vending machines. We looked into a bunch of different industries. And my wife saw this tweet from Rohan, and talking about, the whole Reddit blow up thread about owning your own cleaning business. So we started diving into it and figured that, hey, like, what could be worse? We could do it. And if something doesn't happen, we either close the business down or I end up cleaning homes myself. So at the end of the day, like, we could pay our bills, hopefully. So it was a pretty low risk move.
Yeah, because the investment when you initially start, like, it's, under a couple of grand, right? Like, you're not buying supplies, you're working with independent contractors who have their own supplies, you're just paying for your software, your phone line, your insurance, like, they're all fairly simple.
And I think, like, we can get into that, but like, it's when we had a 1-year-old, and then we were pregnant with our second. And that baby was 4 months away from coming, and we had no income. And so it was a really scary time to make that kind of leap. But that sense of urgency that I've got another mouth that's on the way, really, I think, fueled a lot of our success.
I think we should dive deep into how you reached the 450K in a year? Because, Rohan has been teaching this stuff for years. And I can tell you, as one of the coaches now in Cleaning Company Blueprint, there's a lot of people who can reach these, big numbers. And then there's a lot of people who don't. So I guess I want to ask you, because you're now, part of our community, you talk to all these other people. What do you think the difference is between, you and Layla or me and Jen or all the other people that have, had success in this industry? What's the difference between all of us and people who don't do exceptionally well?
I'll be frank. I think that a lot of about like the industry of opening your own home cleaning business is kind of being sold to people that it's this passive, easy thing to do. Set it and forget it. Build a website, hire some contractors, hire a VA, and that's it. Totally. And my experience couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah.
I have worked harder this last year than I ever did working for corporate. So it wasn't 10 hours a week, it was 60 hours a week. And, your phone, you're at family functions, it's your son's birthday and open phone rings and it's an LSA call and I'm stepping outside to answer it, and so it's a grind. And you really do have to put a lot of effort into it. And I think, getting down to basics as far as customer service, putting the customer first, it's more about it. For us, it was more than just the clean. We wanted to have a really well-rounded, positive, hospitable experience. Yeah. And my wife and I, coming from the restaurant industry, like that was really important to us. And so we can,
good point. Yeah, really good point. Because you have service. Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Because I do think a lot of people who do struggle, they have exactly that. They think it's set it and forget it. This is a remote gig. Don't worry about being in the same place. Be on the beach, chilling out while your virtual assistants do everything. Rich has a question. Rich, go for it.
Hey, thanks. John, so, you're talking about working 60 hours a week. And I'm kind of right where Vic was saying, I'm on the struggle bus and I'm fighting hard. And I think for me, I'm kind of turning around a corner. And I'm seeing it a little bit differently. And I think a big part of it's like being hungry. And I'm just curious, like when you say 60 hours a week, I mean, just kind of like, back of the napkin math, where are you putting like most of your time? Is it like 40% is going to ads, 60% is going to customer service? I mean, like what's your average day or week like, if you don't mind me asking?
That's a great question. I would say that, well, in the very beginning, most of 80% of my effort went to sales, went to prospecting, went to cold calling. I think a lot of people will, again, kind of get, at least it's changing a little bit now, the way paid ads are working with LSA and how saturated Google LSA is getting. But when I started a year ago, it was really painted to me that LSA was this gold mine. It was sit back, the phone's going to ring off the hook, and it's just like printing money. I mean, that's literally a quote from someone that kind of got me into this industry. And that wasn't my experience. And, and I know a lot of people in this industry who are just, the phone's not ringing. So 80% of my time in the first year was sales. And then I would say that, the next 10% or 15% even was once I got customers, doing everything that we could to make the best offer possible and nurture those relationships to make sure that those customers remained happy. So I think like one of the things about the cleaning industry is we are a commodity service. So if your customers, your clients don't love you, if they get an ad from someone else, one of your competitors, and you're $5 cheaper, you're gone. So it's literally, we have birthdays down from all of our clients. We send happy birthday, $5 in Starbucks or whatever, to their house, a little $5 gift card with a handwritten letter from my wife. We really personalized it. And I think that's what really set us apart from a lot of kind of that cookie cutter competition.
Okay. So let's talk about the sales that you generated. What's the percentage of recurring clients that you have now versus one-time clients? Because that's a lot of what we talk about in the Cleaning Company Blueprint, is about getting to the level where you have good recurring clients. So what's your percentage of recurring versus one-time?
I mean, right now it's about 60-40 recurring to one-time.
Okay.
It wasn't that way for the longest time. For the first, I mean, obviously the first year, right? You're building your recurring client list. The big turning point for us was in October. We started in January of 2023, so it was kind of a fresh year.
Yep.
So, month 10 in October, we only had 10,000 in recurring, and we were doing about 45,000 a month in revenue. And then since October, we've really doubled down and focused on recurring. So in the last, in the last 4 months, we are now at 24 in recurring. So we've more than doubled our recurring revenue in 4 months. And that's really our focus now moving forward.
And that will reduce how much work you have to do.
Exactly.
Right? That's the magic, is that, and that's why your first year you'd spend so much time and energy on getting those first clients and then retaining them. Okay, that makes sense. Love it. Okay, Rich, go for it.
So 2 follow-up questions, if you don't mind. I guess first, the fact that you've drilled into the recurring revenue model, I mean, that's absolutely brilliant. How do you do that? How do you sort of attack that group? And then when you talk about 80%, lots of outreach and calls, were you calling homeowners? Were you calling organizations? What did that look like? Because I don't mind picking up the phone. I don't mind any of that. I feel a little bit like, who should I be calling? If that makes any sense. And thank you.
Great question. Honestly, Rich, the first thing that I would tell you to do is I would tell you to identify your target avatar. I would figure out, who are you going after? Who is your ideal client? And my wife and I, we have 2 young children, 3 and 10 months old. And we own a cleaning business, and our house is a wreck, right? So we sympathize with working parents and with people with young kids. And we're like, this is brutal, right? At the end of the day, the kids are finally in bed. It's 8:00. My wife and I sit down on the couch and we feel like we've gone to war every day. So who has time to clean? And so that's the community that we really wanted to go after. And so we started targeting our ads and our content, and the people that we were looking for were moms over 100K in income, et cetera, that we knew could afford more of a luxury service like this, because that's the thing about cleaning is people really don't put a value on it, because everyone knows how to push a vacuum. The question is do you want to do it, or do you want to pay someone else to do it?
Yep.
So your toilet breaks, you need a plumber. It's a little more important. So finding that target avatar and really drilling down, they always say the riches are in the niches. That's really important. So whether or not, and you don't have to do residential. I know a lot of people now in this space that are in commercial, they're doing 5+ million a year in revenue. There's a lot of money to be made in a lot of different areas. So I would just say drill down, find out what you're passionate about, what part of the community you want to serve, and who your target customer is.
And when you're talking about being able to say, okay, young parents of young children who earn at least 100K a year, you're really talking about Google Ads, right? Because that's the only place that you can narrow those factors down, unless you're doing Facebook advertising.
We're not doing Facebook ads yet. That's around the corner. But yeah, we are doing Google Ads. And yeah, all of our ads and all of our meta tags and everything in all of our descriptions, everything is kind of geared towards families.
I know one of the things that we had to do was remove value shoppers or bargain hunters. There's kind of different rules in Canada than in the US when it comes to advertising and privacy laws. So there's a few things that you can do in America that we can't do as easily. But certainly the demographic targeting is the way to go.
Yeah, we call those tire kickers down here.
Yeah, you just don't. Yeah. No, that's great.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome, Rich. Absolutely.
Okay, so you're at 60% recurring, 40% one-time cleans. So the recurrings are just going to keep going. And the 40% then adds on. And you mentioned before we hit record, you mentioned that you had just reached another marker that you set for yourself for this month. And what was that?
Yeah, so with the idea of really focusing on recurrings, we wanted to hit 6 recurring new clients a month. That was our goal. And that was, I think, in the beginning of it was all about, I really focused on, I wanted to sell $1,000 a day in cleans. That was the goal for the first year. And if I didn't hit $1,000, I got, bummed out. And just for everybody who's new to this, there will be days where the phone doesn't ring. And then I freak out and my wife tells me to calm down. And then, sure enough, 2 days later, 10 calls come in, right? So it ebbs and flows. It's kind of the manic depressiveness of being an entrepreneur.
Yep.
but yeah, so now that we're focusing on recurring, our goal was to hit 6 recurring clients per month. And it is the 5th of February, and we just hit our 6th already.
Amazing.
So we're now bumping that target up to 10 per month is now the new goal.
Because you can.
Right? Nice.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's so great. I love that. And January was your best month yet, which is like totally not what anybody in this space is saying. So what was your total revenue in January?
So in January, we did 53,000.
So what's the next goal?
The next goal is, the next goal is 80K a month. I mean, that's what we're really trying to go after. We hit $1 million a year. But I'm going to just to sit back just for a second. I'm going to kind of go against I'm going to give a little caveat to what I said to Rich about drilling down with your target avatar, because while that is really important, diversification also is important, meaning that don't close yourself off to other target markets and other things that might approach it. We got a great opportunity to work with a nonprofit organization here in Austin that they work with Parks and Rec and the city, and they turn community centers and recreational centers into shelters for the homeless when it drops below 32 degrees and below freezing, so that they can get them off the streets at night. So there's a warm place for them to sleep. Well, then that organization needs those rec centers cleaned to turn them back over to the city the next day. And that's why we did so well in January. January was really cold. And, I billed $12,000 just in this one sector of the business. So that's
what find you.
They found me on LSA.
Okay. And sorry, for those watching, LSA is Google Local Service Ads, which a lot of people use in the cleaning industry space. Okay. So they reached out to you because it had the Google guaranteed. They saw your ad. They saw Austin cleaning company, and they called you. Okay. That's great. So technically it's a commercial client, but it came through a residential ad.
Correct.
Okay. So one of the questions a lot of people have in our community is, how do you get commercial contracts? And anybody who gets them like we do, all of us say the same thing. It's like, they found me. And then I said, yes. The other way to do that, and I will do a call on this eventually, is to actually bid on government contracts. And there's a lot of support for small businesses, for BIPOC, for women, for queer folks who want to get their small cleaning business to be able to bid on government contracts. So that's a whole other beast. And that is the long game. It's not fast. It's government, so it's slow. But that is a good way to pad your monthly revenues with good contracts.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you know, this might be a curveball for you, but do you know your percentage of commercial versus residential now? Probably not.
Yeah, we're still like 95% residential. I mean, January was a little bit of a fluke. Yeah. But yeah, we're still 95% residential.
Okay. Yeah, we're about the same. We're probably 90 to 95% residential. And all of our commercial clients have found us just by looking for the best cleaning company near them, and then calling us. And that's it. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've got a great relationship with a construction company that they have a contract where they're remodeling all of like convenience stores here in Texas. In Austin and San Antonio, just south of us. And so when they're done remodeling, they call me and we come in and we do a construction cleanup, and, it's a couple grand a month. And so these clients are really important, but it's important that you nurture and foster the relationship, back to the beginning of customer service. So, you can't just set it and forget it.
Yeah.
They're going to find someone else.
They're going to find someone else. They won't have the loyalty to you or your company. This is maybe going to sound a little naive, but I really believe, especially post-pandemic, the pandemic caused, it was horrible, obviously, but there were some really positive things to come out of it. And one of them is people starting to focus on local and genuinely caring about local businesses. And anywhere in the world, local businesses are always, kind of carrying the placard that's saying, like, please support local business, right?
Yeah.
And Austin's whole thing is Keep Austin Weird, which is about those small local businesses. That's the whole point of the Keep Austin Weird bumper sticker on people's cars, right? And, I love that about Austin, but also when it comes to the cleaning industry, there's Merry Maids and there's Molly Maids. Those are the kind of the big guys. Even though those are actually franchises, so they are small local businesses. But your average person looking on Google, they don't know that. They just see a nationally recognized brand. And so if it's that one versus, John and Layla's little cleaning company in Austin that has over 100 5-star reviews, they're probably going to choose yours, right? Like that's what's happening in 2024. And that's what's really exciting to me anyway.
And it happens all the time. A lot of our clients, when they find out that we're local, it's like, oh, I was looking for someone local. Like, oh, great, you're local. That's awesome. I'm glad to support local. Yeah, that's definitely a motivator for a lot of our clients.
And then the downside of that is when people have a local business and they hear, oh, I can hire a VA to do this. And we've done exactly this. We had 2 full-time virtual assistants and I love them. But the downside of that was they're not actually local. And even if their accents, these guys sounded like they were in Canada, but they don't know the geography. And they can't know the geography. They can use Google Maps, they can use Google, and like they're champs at that. But, when somebody locally calls you and says like something that's so specific to your area,
sure.
You know it, And so then they're like, oh, okay, you get it. And immediately you're able to turn them into a good, loyal, reliable, consistent client, right?
Yeah, exactly. We did the VA thing as well. We let them go. At the moment, we're not planning on doing another VA. So,
yeah. And you shouldn't need to if you keep getting your recurring up.
Right.
Because then you don't need to do the lead generation that you had to do your first year. You just won't need to.
Right.
Unless you want to then, okay, so let's talk about that. What is your next big goal? So we've talked about the small goals, adding 10 recurring clients a month. What's the big goal for this company and your lives?
Okay. The next big goal for the company is 750K this year. So year 2, 750. That's what we're going after.
Yep.
And then with 1 month of vacation, that's important to us. And then year 3 for us. Sorry, 2025 will be 1.5 and 3 months of vacation. And then, from there, because that was what we really designed. We were kind of designing our lives is we want to be able to travel for 3 months a year with our kids. And and we figured out, and a lot of people think that you need a lot more money than you actually do. And, I think if you hit 1.5, you can live any life you want.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Any life you want.
Okay. So what have you screwed up on?
Oh, geez.
What's your mistakes? Yeah. I know there's always lots.
It's a laundry list. I mean, first off, I don't want to paint a bleak picture, but hiring, is absolutely critical. And you're going to interview 100 people to find one really good candidate. I'm now at the point where I finally have a crew or a group of cleaners that I am, fairly confident in that I don't really need to check in on them, throughout the day.
Yeah.
People are clocking in, they're clocking out, they're taking their photos, they're following the checklist. Like that's also something that, to point out is I know people who don't use checklists and don't use systems, and I know people that do. And I'm a big advocate for checklists. Yeah. So all of my cleaners, they have checklists they have to fill out on every single clean just to make sure we don't miss things. But I've hired people that didn't do well, and I was part of the pains of growing so quickly is we were beholden to our crews because I couldn't afford to let people go. Because if I did, I couldn't fill the work. Mm-hmm. And I had people that I knew were terrible and that I knew were a threat to the overwhelming or the overarching business in itself. And there were a few episodes that really put our business in danger. Mm-hmm. And I've had cleaners I had a cleaner get arrested at a client's house.
At the house? Oh my God.
At the house. Yeah. Yeah, we had a client who noticed that their wallet was missing during a clean, and it was just him and the cleaner in the home, and so they called the police. And I got a call from the client saying, "Hey, do you want to know where your cleaner is?"
Oh my gosh!
Didn't get a bad review. Drove out to the client's house myself.
You managed that really well.
I was in the car there, replaced the money he said that was in the wallet, that I don't even know if that's true or not.
Doesn't matter.
But, there's nothing worse than you could possibly get than a review that says your cleaners steal. So yeah, had one. My big one, which I'm a little proud of, and then just by the way we handled it, I had a cleaner lift a $30,000 engagement ring.
No.
From a recurring client's house. Yeah. And the best part is we got the ring back and gave it back, and they are still recurring clients 6 months later, because of how hard we worked to get the ring and how seriously we took it. So show up for your people, show up for your clients, go above and beyond, and they will support you. They'll be lifelong fans.
Did you run police checks on your cleaners before hiring?
Absolutely.
And these they're two different cleaners.
Two different cleaners
that both stole. Man, that is really unfortunate.
Yeah. I mean, and the client was like, I guess lesson learned, don't leave a $30,000 engagement ring, lying around when you're not there. Like we were cleaning the home like they were gone, they're at work. But still, it's you're in your own home. Like you should be able to trust, that your things are safe. So there's been some doozies. But luckily we got out unscathed.
And I have to say, having heard those stories, anyone else probably would have quit at that point. It's just been like, oh my God, I'm out. So what keeps you going?
I mean, honestly, my kids, my wife, we're a fierce team. And when I get low, she props me up and vice versa. So just back to, if anybody tells you this game is easy, it's not. But the way to win is you just never quit. Because as we were talking about before we started recording this video, there's a lot of competition out there, but there's so many people who aren't taking it seriously. And the second they hit their first wall, they quit. So there's a lot of competition, but if you're doing the right things day in and day out, like you will win.
Yeah. And if you care, and I think, you mentioned that you're finally at the point where you've got a good crew of cleaners and you feel like you can totally trust them. And that's where we're at with ours. And it's just so different now compared to like we started July 2021. And that first year I was like you, I didn't put in 60 hours because that's too much for me. But I was a good solid, like at my computer, answering every call, returning every email, every text. But in all honesty, a lot of what I was doing, I can now look back on and go, I didn't really need to do that. But I needed to do it for me so that I felt like I was all in.
Yeah.
Now I can go, okay. Like today you mentioned, you'll have days where the phone doesn't ring. Today was a day the phone didn't ring.
Yeah.
And my work now it's almost all mental. And it's like managing my own emotions, managing my reactions to stuff that goes wrong, because it's inevitable something will go wrong and that's okay.
Yeah.
So it's really more of like a mental game, and it's not something that people necessarily talk about when it comes to how to be successful. But to me, it's the most important thing, so that when bad things happen, I am my best version of myself as a boss, as somebody on the phone for a client that's having a horrible day, for the cleaners, right?
Absolutely.
That's half the battle, really. And then having someone else check you. Like, you're so lucky to have Layla.
I do.
Dude, like tomorrow you'll get 10 calls. I know in our business, we always find Tuesdays are really busy. Mondays are chill. By Tuesday, the moms are like, okay, I'm sick of this.
Yeah.
Exactly. Get someone in here.
Well, and I think like you can, I don't handle anxiety very well. My genetics. And, in that first year, especially when sales are low and that phone doesn't ring, I had plenty of freak out moments, and, it's just, you got to keep going, and Alex Hormozi talks about all the time of, if you're not willing to play this game for the long haul without any kind of indication of success, don't even start. Don't even start. And so it's just you're wasting your time because it's not an overnight thing. Anything that gets built that's huge takes a long time.
And to be fair, a long time for you guys was not a long time.
Absolutely true. I'm well aware of that. Absolutely.
Like 1 year, 450K. What's your profit margin on that, by the way? Do you know?
We're 33% net.
So you're good.
Yeah.
You're fine. I love that. I love that. So we are talking like a year out. We're not talking, I think about anybody who's gone into other industries like film or wine, for example. Wine takes 5 years to grow good quality grapes. So you can go and buy land and plant a vineyard, but you're not making wine for at least 5 years. And then you sell that first bottle and you still aren't making any money, So like, I love looking at this industry and going, okay, but, you can get in for just a couple of grand and then hold and carry on and do great customer service, because that's what you're so good at, John. Clearly, it's the customer service angle.
Yeah, I mean, it's how you react to situations. I mean, I can't tell you how many clients that we've turned around. Clients that we didn't show our first time on the job, we botched, and they were a recurring customer. They were going to be a recurring customer if they were happy. And we just didn't show up that day, or our cleaner, whatever, didn't do a good job, and so I'm on the phone and I'm like, look, I totally get it. We screwed up. That's not what we guaranteed. That's not our service. How about I come back out? We're going to re-clean your home for free. No strings attached. We're going to re-clean your home for free. I've gotten so many clients back that way.
So great. And then one of the things, I don't know if you find this, but having had that restaurant experience, and I've been in customer service my whole freaking life. I swear to God, I've been in sales in one capacity or another. What I found anyway, and I wonder if this will resonate with you as well, is that I have to reduce my standard of expectation so that it's not as high. Because, so for example, we know in this industry, 2 to 5% will complain no matter what. So if you look at your, records and you go back and like, there are days where you feel like every single client is calling you to complain and all your cleaners suck. But then at the end of the month, you run your numbers and you go, oh, we had less than 2% complain, but man, did I ever take them seriously, and they are important, but they're not 98%. Your 98% that are totally happy are really important too. Do you find that like that you focus in on that 2% that are complaining, or?
I'm a little calcified now that I'm a year into it. I definitely did in the very beginning. Someone complained, they threatened they were going to go on Yelp. I'm freaking out. And now I have the luxury of, I have 115 5-star reviews on Google, where so someone's like, hey, if I know a customer's being a dick and they're just trying to get their money back, and I know we did a good job, I sent a good cleaner, etc., I'm much more willing to stand my ground now. And be like, fine, if that's the kind of person you want to be and you want to rip me a new one on the internet, like, go ahead. Like, I've got so many reviews to back it up. But yeah, in the beginning, I zoomed in on 2%. That's all I focused on. And I'm sure I left a lot on the table by not focusing on the 98%.
Have you had any negative reviews yet? Have you had any like 1 stars that are like brutal? And then how do you respond to them?
I have 3 1 stars. Only one of them is real. One of them was a guy that wanted to be hired and I didn't hire him. And so he gave me a 1 star, and then he got his friend to write a 1 star as well. And just so everyone knows, Google doesn't care. And I submitted screenshots, his name, Indeed, the conversations, everything. Google said, well, he didn't violate our policy, so the review stays. And so I have 2 1 stars that are false. And so basically, when you go back, you just write a response and you say something of, hey, Adam, I think maybe you got the wrong company. I'm not really sure. Like, we don't have a customer under your name, but, if you ever need a great quality clean, we'd be happy to help you out. Just kind of deflect a little bit. But the one real 1 star we do have, we did a deep clean for a client, and he has limestone floors in his bathroom, and they are unsealed. Why you would do that, I have no idea. But he told us, he said, you know what, I only want you to use this cleaner. I'm going to supply it to your cleaners. That's all I want you to use. And so we did. And, lo and behold, he sends me photos after and says that we stained his limestone floors. And my cleaners are like, that's bull. Like, we used the cleaner he gave us. Like, that's not accurate. And so, it's like after like going, back and forth with the guy for like 3 months and trying to help him, he basically just says, well, I'm going to rip you a new one, and posted photos and said that that's what we did. And the only response you can do is, hey, we worked with you for months. We tried to help you fix something that we didn't do, and you move on.
Yeah.
It hasn't hurt business. So don't freak out about every little thing that happens. Yeah. Getting a couple of bad reviews isn't a bad thing. There's competition out there. I had a company that was, we see on LSA, because you do it too. I'm sure you look at your competition, you look at their reviews and everything, and they had like 285 5-star reviews. Perfect. And I'm like, this is bull. There's no way. There's no way these are real.
Nope.
So having a couple of reviews that are not great, or even better, reviews where they had a terrible first experience, and then you went above and beyond and fixed it, and they wrote a review about how you fixed it. Like that.
Nothing better than that. Yep.
I got a 4-star. I got a 4-star because it was originally a 1-star, and then I fixed it. And so they came back and they were like, hey, I can't give a 5 because the first experience was terrible.
Yeah.
But the second experience was awesome. So I'm giving it a 4.
And you are using Nice Job integrated with your website so that Nice Job is automatically asking for reviews, right?
They are automatically, they're asking for reviews from only people I want them to ask for reviews from. So I don't have it automatically turned on, but yeah, it does. When we go into Nice Job, once we've connected with the customer afterwards, we've made sure that they were really happy with the experience, and we asked them, are you good with us sending you a link for a review? And they say, of course, and we know it's going to be a good review. Then we go in and we invite them to the campaign.
Okay, cool. Okay, Rich wants to know more about that. Rich, go for it.
Yeah. So when you talk about, we've been talking a great deal about customer service, and I'm getting the impression, I'd love it, John, if you wouldn't mind just talking about like all the different touch points, sort of like someone calls, what that process is like, then you get them onboarded. I'm assuming you contact them when the clean is done, maybe after you bill. I don't know. So like, because I totally get how, you're making all these different connections with these customers, then that sort of like deepens the relationship and, makes you more than just a commodity, right? So I'm kind of wondering like what that looks like on your side. Thank you.
Great question. I think one of the things that I don't think is talked about enough, and for in full transparency, I took a course. So I'll leave it at that. I took a course when I first started opening a cleaning business, and you got your sales script. And I think like one of the things that people don't talk about enough in the sales script that I always stressed, because it worked really, really, really well for me, and I think just being in the hospitality industry is finding a way to connect with that customer on a human level as quickly as possible into the call. And I just don't think that that's stressed enough. And so if someone calls me and they're like, hey, we need to clean, blah, 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 we're 2 working parents, and I've got a 3-year-old and I've got a whatever, it's instant. It's, oh my God, I've got a 3-year-old, misery loves company, right? So it's like, I find a way to connect. Or if they talk about their dogs and the dog care, it's like, oh, I have 3 dogs. I really do. I'm not making it up, but like I have 3 dogs and 2 cats. Like I totally understand. My house is a wreck. So finding a way to connect on a human to human level, like you're no longer a stranger. They trust you. Or at least a little bit, right? They don't trust you fully, but there's a little more than just like a cold call. So I would start with that, is try and connect with them on a human level, find a way to relate as quickly as you possibly can. And then find a way to weave into your sales script what sets you apart, why you're different from everyone else, and have guarantees. I think that speaks volumes. So we have a couple of guarantees at Swept Up where we obviously guarantee the service. If there's anything that we miss or we don't do well, we come back and we fix it for free. No problem. As long as you bring it to our attention within 24 hours. The other thing we do is we were getting a lot of complaints that, Vic, you probably get this, someone calls and they're like, hey, I had a moving clean scheduled and they canceled on me last minute. Do you have anyone? Can you come out? or it happens all the time. Customers complain that they get canceled on at the last second. And I think a lot of people are concerned that's going to happen, especially for things like move outs, or they have a clean where they're getting ready for a party, or families coming into town, or things like that, where canceling is catastrophic in their eyes. So we have a guarantee that if we cancel, we pay you $100.
Nice.
And the reason that we do that is because it never happens. And I can leave that in my sales script. It's like, hey, we literally have a policy that if we cancel on you, we will pay you $100. And I've only had to do that once in a year. And so that right also gives you a lot of credibility that, hey, you're going to show up because you're putting your money where your mouth is.
And when you say, what differentiates you, my kids are a little bit older than yours, but we also have the dog, and I totally get the, it's like 9 o'clock at night, homework's done, and I haven't even, maybe I've eaten, right? I mean, I get that. So can that sort of be something like sort of, I don't know if I were to mention it kind of like along the lines of, kind of mentioning all of that, in a really kind of concise way, that's what makes us different, is that we understand and appreciate just how hectic lives are today. And we want to help make yours a little better, a little easier. Is that enough? Or are you talking about something more unique than that?
I mean, when I hear you say that, my initial gut was that's too formal. I would try and make it a little more candid. Where if someone says something about their kid or whatever, you'd be like, totally get it. Like, I didn't get to bed till 9:30 last night. We were helping my kid with homework, rather than like, we go above and beyond because we understand your pain. They know you understand their pain just by you dropping in that little quib of the example. And it's more of a conversation of friend to friend rather than business trying to sell.
And I think we overcomplicate it by saying even the word sales script that John mentioned before, and my spidey sense is always like, and yet I'm very good at sales. But as soon as someone says this is the script, it's like, you have to be more natural than that. You do have a script. You need to know what's the size of their house. How often do they want it cleaned? Do they have pets? Are they expecting a deep clean? Is it a move in, move out? Like, those are the questions you need to have answered. But there isn't a set order. The order is dictated by the person calling.
So you can like literally just have a conversation with. Yeah. I mean, I understand that there are things but I mean, you don't have to. Okay, all right. I mean, that's very cool. And
here's
makes
the thing.
A ton of sense.
Yeah, it's so chill, and the bar is so low. That's what's so fun. Like, we always teach in the course to do your competition, like do research on your competition first, call 10 cleaning companies in your area and find out what are they doing. But it's also to show you just how not intimidating this is. Like, they're just regular people. And the person who's calling looking for a cleaning service, that's who they want on the other end. They don't want a salesperson to convert them. They want a human being that understands their needs.
Correct. Keep it conversational. To your point, reiterate the problem, because when you do that, they now believe that you understand what you're trying to solve for them. So make sure that you repeat that back. Yeah, and to your point, by sales script, you got to start somewhere, right? And so you want to like make sure that you have the appropriate questions answered, like you're saying, But then when you get a year in, 2 years in, and you've done hundreds of calls, I don't have a script in front of me anymore. You know what I mean? I've done it enough times where I can react, I can change things up just based on the conversation that I'm having.
All right. So, last 5 minutes, what advice would you give yourself today, now that you know what you know? What would you, if you could go back in time travel, what would you tell your previous version of yourself on day one of starting this company?
Don't say yes to every client. That's also like, or every prospect. I've done that, and as you do it more and more, you'll get the red flags and you'll know, but you're so desperate to sell. You're so desperate to make that sale and get that customer that you're willing to take them on anyway. And you're probably going to end up doing the job, and they're probably going to complain and threaten for a 1-star review. So you're going to give them all their money back anyway, because you're so young in the business that when you only have 10 reviews, you can't get a 1-star because that'll destroy you. So when you see the red flags, run. Like, it's not worth it.
Okay, so what's a red flag? Give us some examples of some red flags you've had.
So someone calling me up and saying, hey, I've been through a dozen cleaning companies. They all suck.
Classic.
Come help me. And I'm just like, no, I run away as fast as I possibly can. Like,
yeah, if they start with, I've hired a bunch of cleaners and they all suck.
Yeah. This is not someone that I'm going to make happy, no matter what I do. So, that's a classic one for me. Just get out of there. This didn't happen to me, but I know someone who had it. It was an 8,000 square foot home and they wanted a recurring, and they, said that they were getting it for $200 and they wanted to see if this person could price match it. Like, well, if you're getting it for $200, why would you change? Number one, you're not getting it for $200. Just let customers go that shouldn't be customers. They're not good customers. You don't want them. They're just not worth the hassle.
Mm-hmm.
I had a customer claim that we threw away her Prada glasses and they were worth $800, but she would be willing to take a $400 refund, which was ironically the same price as the clean. So, and my cleaners like, we didn't see any glasses. We didn't throw any away. So yeah. And then don't sweat all the small stuff. I kept myself awake at night too much.
Especially my first year. I don't anymore, but my first year, my God, so many times I'd be stressed out about stuff. But again, that comes back to because my standards are so high.
Yeah.
And just realizing there are no such things as a cleaning emergency. Like it's okay.
Correct. Yeah. We're not, it's not brain surgery,
right?
It's not someone open on the table. Cause and when you can, especially if you can, like I talked about a little bit earlier, our growth was so fast that we felt hamstrung by our cleaners and we couldn't get rid of bad cleaners. When people show you that they're not reliable, get rid of them. Don't hold on, because they're going to do it again and again and again and again.
Yeah. It's not a one-time thing.
No.
Yeah. Man, so many times I wish I had listened to that advice. Cleaners I should have gotten rid of way faster than I did.
Correct. Yeah. That's all my stress is my, now that I have a crew that they're awesome. Now we're going to, we want to expand to 3 more cities this year. And I now have the bandwidth to do it. I'm doing more sales than ever with no help, no VA, but I have less on my plate because I'm not having to micromanage everyone who works for me.
Nor do they want to be micromanaged. They've got their good recurring clients. They don't, they just want you to pay. That's it. Just pay on time, be nice, be courteous, and keep going. Yeah. That's so great. Congratulations. I'm so excited for you guys. I'm so excited to watch your journey and to see you expand to other cities and learn from you, because I know I'm going to learn a lot. We've been trying to expand a number of different ways, and I know we've emailed about that. There's no roadmap for how that works. We're all just fumbling our way through it, but
we didn't talk about Serbia, but
that's okay. We'll talk about that another time. Yeah. Awesome. Rich, do you have any other last minute questions before we say goodbye to John?
No, this has been awesome. Thank you so much, John. Thank you so much, Vic. This has been really, really helpful. Thank you.
John, thank you so much. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Vic. I really appreciate it. Rich, great questions. This was awesome.
And for everybody watching, if you enjoyed this and if you want to reach out to John or myself, please leave a comment or ask a question. We're happy to answer. And if you're interested in booking a call with one of us, just click the book a discovery call and one of our coaches will meet up with you and talk about what you need. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.